I've been with eXp for the last 3 years, and I really didn't start diving into this until the last, I would say, 12 months. And once I got really serious and I started looking at this as almost like its own business, it started to grow. And what I wanted to do was take you guys along this journey and really show you the ins and outs of agent attraction and ultimately what the real possibility of this passive income and revenue share stream looks like. So we're going to do that today. And then I deleted everything off my wealth chart so that we could all do it together, and then ultimately log into your back end of eXp if you haven't done that already. Some of you guys have been receiving wires on the 20th of the month for a while, and I'm sure some of you don't even know what it's from. So we're going to go like to the basics on this to make sure that we all have a really good understanding of how this all rolls. All right, so eXp, we've hit over 86,000 agents. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, you got an email that eXp is now offering a global multi-license program where you can be licensed in multiple countries. They also recently rolled out the referral division where agents can just hang their license at eXp for $50 a month and go and recruit. So they're really looking at all of the possibilities for us on how we can grow our revenue share. So make sure you're paying attention to those emails because there's a lot of really good information in there. And the more information and knowledge we have, the better we can be at telling the agent community about it. But ultimately, we were the first big cloud-based brokerage. Right? There are multiple companies that have ripped off and duplicated our exact model. And I'm sure you guys are wondering, or you may have had people ask, or you may have asked yourself, why is eXp better than these other companies? Right? Because the other companies have a very similar structure. And for me, and the way that I look at it is eXp has the production. Right? We look at our upline of the fast forward movement, and we have hundreds of teams across the country that are doing over $100 million a year, all getting together. Tell me in your market right now, would you be able to go find 20, $100 million producers that all want to get together on a weekly basis and share their playbook? Absolutely not. That just wouldn't happen. And so we have the production that I believe no other cloud-based company has. A lot of them are focusing on recruiting and not production, but ultimately production is what leads to your growth and growing agent attraction. And we're an agent-owned company, so we're rewarded through stock grants when we sell real estate, right? Or we bring agents into the company. So we're an agent-owned company. Okay, so my favorite part about this company, you as the agent are rewarded by helping attract producing agents to the company. Revenue share is based off of the company's top line revenue. And ultimately profit is revenue minus expenses equals what's left for the profit share. So think about that. If the company has a really bad year, maybe they over leveraged on expenses and there's less profit margin, every single agent suffers. But at eXp, we're looking at the top line revenue. And ultimately, a cloud-based brokerage just has less expenses, right? That's why we have amazing tech stack and all of these amazing opportunities, because ultimately we don't have brick and mortars. We don't have a ton of layered management levels, and the revenue is passed on to us as the agents. All right, how many of you guys have seen this chart and you have no idea what it means? Like it looks super confusing. Okay, so we're going to take this down to like the easiest level possible. And I want everyone on this call to understand it before we move forward. Fair enough? All right. So first, I want to explain what the difference between an FLA and an FLQA is. Have you guys heard those terms? Okay. So an FLA is an agent that you have sponsored into the company. So if it's a husband and wife team, they count as one. Okay. So an agent that you bring onto this company, it could be any agent, whether they produce or not. Okay. So every single agent you've sponsored that is still at the company is an FLA. An FLQA is the total number of agents that are active that you have sponsored in your first line that have either done 2 transactions or have brought in $5,000 in gross commission income in the last 6 months. Okay. So that's the main difference. And I'll share why this is important. So when you sponsor an agent at eXp, they're going into your level 1. When they are in your level 1, you are going to receive 3.5% of their GCI until they reach $80,000 in commission. Because at an 80-20 split, when they hit $80,000 in commission, you've now capped out, right? You've paid that $16,000 into the company. Does that make sense? Yes? Everyone with me so far? All right, awesome. So these are your front line, the people that name you as a sponsor. Now, your second line is somebody who was sponsored by a person in your first line. Make sense? So you sponsor Jane Smith, then Mike Miller comes into the company and he is sponsored by Jane Smith. So now he is in your level 2. So here's where this gets really important to know the difference between an FLA and an FLQA. In order to receive your full share of 3.8% of your second line's commission, you must have 5 to 9 FLQAs to unlock the next level. So let's say Jane comes in level 1 and Mike Miller comes in level 2, and you have not brought 4 FLQAs into your downline, you're only going to get 0.2% of Mike's commission. I mean, that is a huge difference. So that's why it's really important that you really pay attention to the people that you bring into the company and ultimately help the people that you bring into the company. So you guys notice the level of collaboration and sharing that goes on, and how, you know, you reach out to your sponsor or your next two uplines, and everyone's so willing to help, because ultimately they want to see you become an FLQA, because that ultimately is helping them. Make sense? Okay. And some of you guys, if we're going to log into your back end of your RevShare dashboard in a little bit, you guys might notice that you have level 3 and level 4s, but you haven't gotten the FLQAs. So you're now missing out. I mean, look at that. That's 14 times more in level 4 if you had these FLQAs. So there's absolutely a strategy to this that you want to pay attention to. And that's why it's really important that we log into our dashboard every day to see what exactly is going on. Okay. So ultimately, this column here is showing you the maximum amount that you can make per capping year per agent that you bring in. All right, is everyone with me? Okay, any questions before we move forward? All right, cool. All right, so let's just use a really, really simplified example here. All right, so in your level 1, if you sponsor 10 capping agents, that is going to produce $28,000 in revenue share per year. Now, this is where it gets really fun, when the multiplication happens. So in your second level, let's say 10 capping agents bring in 10 capping agents. Now there's an opportunity to create $320,000 in revenue share per year on top of the 28. Okay, so that would create $348,000 per year with 110 agents who cap, plus you'll receive 3,750 shares of stock. Let's just talk a little bit before we fill out these wealth charts about how to attract, because we have all had agents at a lot of different brokerages. And by the way, guys, every single brokerage is a recruiting brokerage, okay? So people will say, well, eXp is a recruiting brokerage. How many of you guys get phone calls from brokerages on a daily basis? Marley's shaking her head, yes, okay? Every brokerage is a recruiting brokerage. eXp is just more noisy because of the opportunity that we ultimately have, okay? So know that every single brokerage is a recruiting brokerage, and typically a local brokerage will just have one recruiter, right? We just have 86,000 recruiters. So the first thing you really want to do is you're going to make a list of agents and affiliates. So what I mean by affiliates is look at your referral partners, lenders, title companies, maybe if you're in an attorney state, attorneys. And we're going to make a list here in just a couple of minutes, but start just becoming really aware of your surroundings. I was talking to an agent on our team this morning about this. And when you're out helping buyers and sellers, how many agents are you talking to a day on the other side of a deal, right? How many people have agents in the community that love working with you, right? You have a great reputation. You do a really good job for your clients, and you build rapport with other agents. You have the opportunity to now work with these agents to attract them into this company. Learn to invite, not present. So what I mean by that is start inviting agents to things. Start inviting them to events. Start going to events yourself. We have, in our upline, we have Fast Forward Movement. You can invite them to those Monday calls. They also have a Tuesday call called Agent State of Mind now for single agents. There's a Friday wealth building call, and then we have our agent attraction group call twice a month. So there's always different things you can invite agents to. So instead of just being like, eXp is so great, show them how great we are. Webinars, just try to get on as many as possible, especially our group coaching calls for agent attraction. There's so much gold in these calls. So if you guys can hop on them, make sure you do. Your wealth chart. So once you have this filled out, you guys should, I know some people put them on their garage doors as they walk out of their house every day. So I have accountability partners. I take a picture of my revenue share dashboard and this every single morning. I check it. The reason why is we want to stay top of mind and make sure that we're following up with people and we're reaching our goals. But the other thing is, it could really piss you off. If this whole board is at 0 and you're looking at that every day, it's going to make you want to step up and work on this harder, right? To get your follow-ups and your working hots and your hit lists filled out. So have this wealth chart and get in a habit of checking that dashboard every single day. And also the important reason is because sometimes People will name you as a sponsor and you don't even know. They don't even reach out and tell you. So it's important that we're checking that every day, staying on top of it. And then follow-up. So we're going to talk a little bit more about follow-ups in a couple of minutes, but ultimately, this is like having a real estate business. So I'm at the point now with my rev share group that I look at it as a business. Actually, when the funds come into my bank account every single month, I put 20% aside into a second bank account. Those funds are used for expenses to grow my rev share group. I mean, these can be grown into a full-fledged business. So we've got to be really strategic and looking at our goals and our follow-up system, because it's really not that much different than helping buyers and sellers, right? Now we're just helping other agents. So they're very parallel businesses, same CRM, same follow-up system, same accountability and goals. So very, very similar. And ultimately, guys, this stuff takes time, right? We're going to fill these wealth charts out today. It's not a tomorrow thing. It's a 3 months, a 6 months, 12 months. I've been with eXp for 3 years, and I probably missed the boat for the first 2 years, but now looking at how it grows, it takes time. All right, and then I wanted to just reiterate to you guys how important it is when you sponsor somebody. First off, the responsibility that somebody has named you as a sponsor, right? That is a responsibility. These are people that are trusting you to help them in their business and guide them, okay? So if any of you guys feel like you want a little bit of help on that, on how you could be a better sponsor, how you can better help people in your downline, reach out to me after this. I'm happy to jump on a call and we can go over kind of what that looks like. But ultimately, the goal is to help people grow their businesses, have a better life, right? And we are financially rewarded for that. So just to give you an example, if somebody that you sponsor comes in and they are currently making $40,000 in gross commission income a year, you are now, Brad, you're getting $1,400 per year in eXp revenue share. But what if you sat down with that agent and you told them about fast forward movement and you shared your playbook with them and you reached out and asked them how you could help, but ultimately you're helping them in their business. So I don't know if any of you guys on here love expireds, but that's how I grew my business. What if you had an agent who was a hunter and they were really, really just gritty and motivated to grow their business? What if you shared information about a lead source that really worked for you? You gave them your script, you gave them the follow-up system, you gave them your listing presentation, and now they went out and they just doubled their business in 1 year. Now you've also created an additional $1,400 for yourself as well. So it's really important to have that vested interest in your downline. And that's why it's really important to check on who's coming in and who you can ultimately help. And I want to share a quick story with you guys. So I was an indie broker. It was myself and my sister-in-law, Jamie. She's on this call now. And so it was just the two of us. And I loved getting 100% commission. Like my whole 10-year career, well, it was 7 back then, I never gave up any of my commission. So it was a really big deal for me to come to eXp because ultimately I was always in control of my own destiny. And so it was a big leap of faith to come here. So I moved to eXp. I took my brokerage, moved it to eXp at the same exact time that I moved across the country. So as you can imagine, I was so focused on growing my new business and building that I didn't lean into eXp like I should have, because I was just tunnel vision focused. So I was ready to leave the company. Because I was giving them 20% of my, my first 80,000. I didn't understand the value or like really what I was getting out of it. So I went to Kyle Whistle, my sponsor, And I saw him at a Tom Ferry event in Dallas. And I was like, look, Kyle, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand why I'm here. I'm just going to go be my own broker again. And he's like, okay, Candace, are you attending this weekly thing? Are you masterminding here? Are you using this tech stack? Are you doing this, this, and this? Are you reaching out to me for help? And I said, no, 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 no. And as soon as I went back home, got on the calls, realized how much value was in this group, I was kind of pissed off at myself that I didn't lean in harder. So if you guys feel at all like you're in that situation ever, or you notice that you have somebody in your downline who may be frustrated, most of the time it's because they are not leaning in and taking advantage to everything in front of them. So make sure you're leaning in. Make sure you're reaching out to me. Kyle and Dan, they run the Monday calls. There's a topics link where you can add your topic on there. Sometimes they need topics. So make sure if you have a question in your business, you're reaching out to me, you're reaching out in the Fast Forward Movement group, because ultimately that's why we're all here, for collaboration. So don't be shy on that front, because that's ultimately why you're here. All right. I don't know how you guys log into your revenue share dashboard, but I go to expenterprise.com. It's the easiest way to access all of the apps that eXp has. So go there, log in, and then on the left-hand side, you're going to see revenue share dashboard, and you're going to want to click on that. Okay, and then once you click on that, you're going to see a My eXp button. So it's a redirect link to your actual dashboard. So click My eXp. Do you guys see the wheel and all of your levels and the boxes at the top? Is anybody surprised that you have more people in your wheel than you thought? Anybody have less people in your wheel than you thought? Is anyone pissed that they have nobody in their wheel? Okay, so one important thing that I want you guys to look at, in the right-hand corner, you're going to see a prospect view box. When you click on that box, you are going to see agents who have named you as sponsor that have not yet onboarded and officially moved into eXp. So let's say that you name somebody, or somebody names you as a sponsor. You should be seeing them in that box. And if you are not, that might mean that there was an issue. So make sure that you're regularly checking that. Then do you guys see the FLA and the FLQA boxes? And do you also see under the FLQA box that it will tell you how many more agents you need to unlock your next level? All right, so what you are going to do is you are going to put your FLQAs, your frontline qualifying people, okay, into these boxes. This way you can track on paper how many more agents you need to unlock the next level, okay? And then you are going to put the FLAs, the people who are not qualifying right now. They either haven't closed 2 deals in the last 6 months, or they have not received the $5,000 in commission, okay? And when you guys click on that FLA box or FLQA box, it's going to bring you up almost like a spreadsheet. And if you tab over, it's going to show you people who have FLQAs that are expiring soon. So for instance, I have a person right now who is FLQA qualified, but on April 28th, if she does not close a home, that is going to fall off and she's ultimately going to go back down here. Okay. Why this is important, that we want her to we want to keep her FLQA status, because ultimately if she falls off and I go from 16 to 15, now I'm losing that multiplier. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All All right, so you're going to fill this out. Who are your FLQAs right now? And then who are the people that you need to help become an FLQA? Okay, so you're going to add them in. And then ultimately, the reason that you want to laminate this is because you want to be able to take the unqualified people, right? Take that out and then add them up here. If you've been at the company for over a year, you are going to put your year one revenue share in there. Okay. And then as you grow, then you're going to add your full annual revenue share income in these boxes. Okay. And ultimately, you guys see what eXp does is they offer us stock grants for selling houses and attracting agents. And it takes 2 years to vest. Why do they do that? Because ultimately they want to keep us at the company, right? Doesn't that create some stickiness in the company when you've got EXPI stock that's going to be vesting in 1 year? If you leave the company, you lose that. So not only do you lose the stock grants, but you also lose the revenue share aspect, right? By the way, did you guys know that revenue share is willable? So if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, like my family is good. That's why this is super important to me. Because, you know, I could go and get another life insurance policy or build up my investment account. I could do a bunch of other things. But ultimately, this is here to stay. This is going to grow. And if I get hit by a bus, my kids are taken care of. So that's really, really important to me. I think it's really cool. Only caveat is your heir does have to get a real estate license. So important thing to know, and probably important in your when you're meeting with your advisors, going over your wills and trusts, etc. This is definitely something that you should be adding into there to make sure that your family knows about this. All right, so you've got your year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and then what you're going to do is under total agents, you're going to add the total amount of agents that you have in each level right now. So whether they're an FLA or an FLQA, you're going to want to start filling this in. So I'm going to do mine as an example with you guys. Okay, so my level 1, I have 25 agents. Okay, so total possible revenue, 25 agents times $2,800, that's $70,000. All right, level 2, I've got 60. Level 3, I've got 25. Level 4, I have 31. Level 5, I have 7. I have none in 6 and 7. Okay. So ultimately, take the number of agents you have and then times it by this number over here, which is the maximum amount. Now, ultimately, not everybody's going to cap, right? Some people are going to be 0. Some people are going to cap. But this is just an example of what the maximum could be. Okay, so just using me as an example, and I actually have 149 as of today, but we'll use 148 total agents in my downline with a total potential revenue of $348,000. Now, I want to share something with you guys that is very, very interesting. So you guys know who John Pugh is. He's actually our agent attraction coach. So if you join those coaching calls, you'll see John on there. So John and I have brought the same amount of people into this company. We both have 25 FLAs and we both have 16 FLQAs at the moment. The difference between John and I, you guys really want to pay attention to this. The difference is that John has 5 times as many people in his downline. 5. And the reason is because he has brought on people into his downline that are massive recruiters or that are big influencers. Okay. So he's making 5 times as much as I am right now with the same amount of recruits. So when you're looking at who do I want to focus on? Who do I want to make the biggest impact to? I want Matthew to go out there and crush it on agent attraction, right? Because when he does that, because ultimately I brought on Marley, who's on this call, who brought on David Caldwell, correct? And that's your sponsor, correct? Okay, so see how that trickle effect happens? So I brought on Marley, I sponsored her. Then she brought on David Caldwell, who brought on 13 people. David now brought on Matthew, who's brought in 10 people. And that's how this thing grows. You guys to focus on is who are the people that you can spend time with to bring them value. And look, ultimately, like for you, Matthew, some of the people that you've probably brought in, they saw the value of fast forward movement, right? 100%. So also like attract the people that are going to understand the value that we're all bringing, because then it's way easier to bring them in than somebody who doesn't understand it. Cool. Okay. So you're going to fill this all out. And then ultimately, you guys are going to come up with what is that freedom number for you? What is the number that you ultimately want to get to on an annual basis in passive income? Okay. And for me, I think the first step is look at what your household expenses are every month. Like that should be step 1, because we could shoot for the moon and want to go buy a yacht and like, you know, a beach house, but let's have realistic goals on what you could bring this to, right? And I think coming up with the number that you spend every month on your living expenses, and that should be goal 1. And then come up with that freedom number. So really interesting, because I was messing with the numbers, trying to figure out what would be my freedom number. And I looked at, okay, I've brought on 25 agents. It's just good, right? 25 agents. What if I just doubled that and brought on 50? Like what's the earning potential if I'm already halfway there. I just need to attract 25 more agents. Now I probably need to attract maybe 25 more Marley Presswoods, right? But ultimately 25 more agents. So when you do this exercise and you bring on 50 agents, and then you expect those agents to bring on 2 agents and etc. And you look at it that way. So for me, if I bring on 50 agents, my total downline over time is going to multiply to a point where I have 650 people in my downline, which will create $1.34 million in revenue share a year. So when you break it down that way of just, I need to create relationships, I need to help people see the value in what we offer, and then leverage fast forward movement and our agent attraction coaching, right? Let everyone else do some of the heavy lifting, and then help your downline understand how they can do this. All right, so what you're going to want to do on this side is you're going to figure out who your generals are. What is a general? These are the people that are going to go out, rally the troops, recruit more agents. So like Matthew, take a look at that, and you can actually go into your dashboard, and then you can do an Excel export, and you can see exactly who sponsored who. Like Marley, this would be a great exercise for you to run and go do, and see who are your generals, right? Like we know David's your general because he's one of mine, right? He's brought in 13 people into the company in the last 12 months. So we've got Marley, you brought in 9. So who are the people who are bringing in other people? Who are your top recruiters? And put them up here. Who do you want to be giving the most value to and spending the most time with? Your generals, right? And make sure too, when you have people that are in your downline who call you and say, hey, Brad, I've got so-and-so who is interested in eXp. And now you're going to do a 3-way call and help them. Like we did a call recently, me, you, Vince, and some of you were looking to bring in the company. So get your upline involved if you need to, right? If it's a bigger fish you want help with, get your upline involved and then help your downline as well. So help these people, because your first couple, sometimes we're not really sure the right questions to ask, or, we don't want to feature dump on them. So just have people help you along the way. And then you're going to put your in process. So like right now I have 2 people I've sponsored that are sitting in prospect view. Put them here. We want to make sure that they have a good onboarding experience. Make sure that when you have people in process, let them know, hey, I'm here to help you. If you need a resource, if you're not getting what you need, just come to me. Okay. You can actually go into work chat, find the onboarding specialist, or go into eXp World, find the onboarding specialist and get these people help. All right, and then you've got your working hot list and your hit list. So I would say your working hot list are people that maybe you invited to the Monday mastermind, right? They're showing some interest, but they're not like blazing hot right now. So we could call them our active people who are kind of actively pursuing. And then our hit list. So if you guys have a hit list, I emailed you guys all a Google sheet a couple of weeks ago, where ultimately you can put all of the agents that you're looking at attracting into this spreadsheet and move them month by month. That should be your weekly hit list. Those are people that you should be contacting on a weekly basis. And I mentioned Steve, who was on this call a little bit ago. I was texting him every week for, I don't know, maybe the last 2 months. Totally ghosted me, right? He probably was busy, wasn't sure what he was doing. And then all of a sudden, a week and a half ago, he's like, hey, I'm ready to move my brokerage over, right? So remember, this is like working with a seller. Do we give up the first time the seller doesn't answer their phone or doesn't text you back? Absolutely not, right? So the proof is in the follow-up. So make sure that you're actively following up. And this hit list, these are the people that you want to be offering the most value to. You can offer them a special guest invite to our Monday mastermind call. You can get them an eXp guest world pass. Ultimately, just make sure you stay on top of them. And can you guys agree that everyone's kind of looking for something else right now? Like everyone's almost looking for that next shiny object, that next thing to help them in their businesses, because a lot of people's businesses are down right now. And I look at a lot of the local brokerages. Ultimately, like, what is the training that they're doing every week? Right, Matthew, what do you think the local training that's happening in your market right now? You're in Portland, right?
Yeah.
Are we getting $100 million producers? Are we getting $500 million producers jumping on and into an office meeting and helping people on a weekly basis?
No, that's the thing I've struggled with. I think a lot of brokers, at least in my market, they're content just with the commodity of like going into an office environment and like, doing wine and cheese and stuff like that versus actually getting serious about their business.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's why I left. I was a top producer at my old brokerage and was capping out. There's no one pushing me. So when I saw the fast forward movement and the kind of production in that group, it's like, okay, I want to be a small fish now in a big pond.
Yeah.
Versus the opposite.
So use that as your story.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And what I would do isn't it easier when you're like versus like, right? You're a top producer at your brokerage. Go find other top producers at other brokerages and say, hey, I wanted to reach out to you because first off, like, I think you have an amazing, incredible business. And like, I really respect you in our market. And this is where I was at 12 months ago, 18 months ago, and here's where I'm at now. And so I just want to know if you're open-minded in your business.
But something to think about. I never thought about it until recently. I'm like, oh, like I'm going to go on an interview of a brokerage once a week and just see what you have to say to me. Because then we'll get really good at getting better than them.
I love that. So the other good thing to do is sign up on all their recruiting websites so you know exactly what they're emailing out. Because usually they're just spewing features and benefits. Like they don't care about your business. So I think diving into actually what does your business look like and how can we help you?
Yeah.
And then like Marley, you started out as a single agent and now you've grown this team and now you have big goals. Like people have watched that journey. That's your eXp story.
Yeah.
And how has building a team within the eXp platform been so easy? You should shoot videos on that.
I'll write it down. I'm trying to be very intentional about recruiting now. And I have some people on my team that hopped on too, because I'm like, guys, this is actually an opportunity that we're not even paying attention to.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to start building out some type of plan for this.
I love it. And I know I've mentioned creating a story a couple of times. So we've been working with John Pugh on this. Kate and I have. And what he did was they asked, like, tell me the journey from becoming an agent. Why did you become an agent? Okay, then you became an agent. Tell me about that journey. If you actually wrote down your whole journey, you're going to find so many incredible stories in there, right? What did it look like? Kate, why did you become a licensed real estate agent?
To get out of retail.
She want to be in retail. Okay, how many people work in retail or are serving right now who want to get into real estate? That's an audience to speak to, right? Brad, why'd you get into real estate?
I didn't like working for anybody else.
So you want to be your own boss?
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. So everybody has a story, but if you really detailed out your entire journey, right? And it's not just, why did I get into real estate? What was your first year in real estate look like? Was it really, really challenging? Patty, what did you learn along the way in your first year in real estate, right? Going from a corporate company and going into a whole new industry and having 22 closings in your first year in the midst of a hurricane and high interest rates. That's a story. And I'm a badass mom of 2 kids and I'm at baseball all the time and I'm doing all these other things and I sold 22 houses in my first year. That's your story, right? Andrew came from the car business, right? How did that, Andrew, what if you had a story about all of the parallels between the car sales business and real estate and put that out there for the world to all the car dealers, the car sales people who are looking at getting into real estate? So see how everyone has their story that could touch other people, that could ultimately help them, and that there's a way to connect with a big community. So get really detailed on what that story is and how it can be powerful and help other people. Because ultimately, the way I look at it is I want to help other people like the people that were in my upline who helped me, right? That's my thing. So think about the people who have helped you, and now you can go help others and make a difference. Cool. Any other questions before we hop off? Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
If you guys need help getting this laminated at FedEx, let me know. Brad, I got you. I think there's a couple people on this call that I have these in the works on. So I will reach out to you, and then Matthew, I'll reach out to you about those group calls. Cool. So if you guys ever need anything, if you need three-way calls or help, you want to go over this in more detail, let me know. But here's what's cool is people above me helped me get this figured out. Now you guys can take this with your downline and go help them figure it out, right?